All right. It is time for our halftime show. We haven't done this one for a little bit, but considering the hot weather outside, I feel like it might be fitting for another episode of Hot Takes. Ooh. So, sometimes we ask the players, sometimes we ask the talent. This week, Kelsey actually asked the talent on my behalf, so I don't know what these hot takes are either. So this could be really interesting because I get to react to you two. So basically, anyone who's just tuning in or has missed it, and just a refresher for you two, we are going to be putting up a hot take from somebody on our talent squad, and we are going to rate how spicy it is on a scale of 1 to 5, or 0 if it actually is just like a cup of warm milk. So.
Do we know which take is coming from which person?
Yes.
Okay, sick.
Oh, we get to make fun of them, too.
Exactly. That is the second part of that whole thing, and it is probably my favorite part. We get to make fun of everyone else, and they don't get to say anything back, so...
All right.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
I love slander.
All right. Let's get our first hot take up and going. From Mazel, we're getting a full-length best-of-5 rematch for PG Championship.
Like a 1. It's like a 1 pepper, probably.
Yeah, that's like, I'll also say a 1. That's like a solid Anaheim, maybe Poblano.
1 pepper.
Wow, wow. Okay. 1 pepper.
I expected spicier. So come on. We get to see the range episode. We get to see all the stuff happening, and that's what you're going to give us? I don't know, guys.
I think this would be hotter if... we didn't have such a tightly contested top of the table, right? Team Liquid, 100 Thieves, Cloud9, all in contention for being the best team. And it's not obvious to me that one of them is going to blow the other ones out of the water because they play pretty differently, right? And we saw that for our past several Proving Grounds. I think the only Proving Grounds that we didn't have a 5-game series might have been our first one when NoOrg won.
Yeah. It was a 3-1 victory over Cloud9 in that perspective. But for Team Liquid being the only roster in our top 4 that have not changed up their squad, they're the number 1 team in the league, but I wouldn't say they are a far cry from everyone else. It's not like there's a huge gap between them and maybe the next couple of teams in 100 Thieves, Cloud9, and then, either CLG, FlyQuest, Dignitas in the other 3 vying for the top 4 spot.
Yeah, I'm going to say boo, weak sauce take, and let's move on into our next hot take. Maybe see if we get something a little spicier coming up. Coming up from Magical, Team Liquid will not be in first by the end of the split. Okay.
That's a little bit better. I'd say like a 2.
Yeah, I would
maybe
say
a 3.
I would say anywhere between like a jalapeno serrano pepper. So like 2.5.
Okay, well we can't do half. I'm gonna say 2. For myself, I think Team Liquid is really, really strong. I think if it was like Team Liquid will not be in the top 3 by the end of the split, I would have been like, all right, put this on like a 4, a 5, or something sort of range. But I think there's a couple of teams that could contest them for like that tops.
Yes.
I will say if Spawn was on the desk with us, coach for Team Liquid, he'd be like, "Oh, this is a 5.
Hell no.
This is a 5. You're giving them straight pure capsaicin syrup or something. Like you are trying to burn their tongues off."
Now, okay, so I'm looking at the rest of Team Liquid's schedule for the rest of the split, and they're playing up against FlyQuest, Dignitas, Evil Geniuses, Cloud9, and 100 Thieves. And Evil Geniuses are surging. FlyQuest is kind of struggling, but Dignitas is one of our, middle-of-the-pack teams. And so I feel like Team Liquid, they actually have a fairly difficult run towards the end, and they're only currently like 1.5 games above 100 Thieves. So they're winning, but they're not so far ahead that they are uncatchable. I would not be surprised if 100 Thieves ended up being our top team at the very end of the regular season.
Also, Team Liquid did recently. Just throwing that out there. All right. On to our next hot take. See what we got. Cubby. Sheiden will win more LCS MVPs than Blabber. Right, all right.
How many MVPs has Blabber won? Hold on, let me look.
Yeah,
he's definitely had one.
I'm gonna say this is probably our hottest take. I'm gonna go with 4. I'm gonna say this is a 4.
4? Okay.
Yeah.
Rafa?
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, this is so early on into Shaiden's career. The fact that yeah, four for because I know Cubby is super hyped on the Sheiden train, but calling out already that Sheiden is going to be better than the current LCS, I guess, the potential jungler that he could replace in the future. That is,
it's bold. It's very bold.
It's very bold. It's like habanero bold.
Right. And the thing that makes this so bold for me is, one, Blabber has already won 2. He got it in 2021 spring and 2020 spring. And then he's also been on the first All-Pro in 2021 spring, 2020 summer, 2020 spring as well. And the second All-Pro in 2021 summer, right? He's had a great career thus far. And being MVP is not just being a good player. And I think Sheiden will be a good player when he gets to LCS. But from what we've seen in Academy, that is a bolder take than I think even saying Busio would be.
It is a far cry to get to that point where you are not only being the best jungler in LCS, where in a system where they're still importing junglers from, you know, LEC or even LCK and LPL, like, you have to compete against all of those potential
in other roles too.
In other roles as well, and you have to do it 4 times, right? So, you know what? I'm going to revise. It's still 4 peppers, but habanero, I don't think it's hot enough. I think we're looking at a... have you guys ever had, like, a ghost pepper or a New Mexico scorpion?
No, for very obvious reasons.
It's not quite Carolina Reaper. That's the number 5 for me, but yeah, it's still pretty spicy stuff.
Real quick before we move on, Rafa, you had a whole presentation earlier about breaking up with XU and marrying Sheiden instead, and this is what you're going to say about him now? That's your man you're talking about.
Listen,
he was just there for the money.
I did it for a job requirement, you know? And actually, I'm not going to continue the further statement. Just, that's all you need to know. It was a job requirement. It's a job requirement.
Okay. So 4 peppers. We're getting up there. Let's see if our last and final take is going to be the one that tips the scale.
Oh.
This one's from Kelsey. The new LDL format.
Wait, mine didn't even make it.
Well, because we can't have you react
yours wasn't hot enough, Josh. Yours was straight.
Let me finish reading it
It's
out.
not,
the new
mine wasn't that hot. Okay.
format is bad for talent development.
3?
So I think I had a conversation with a couple other people after I saw Kelsey bring it up.
What's your rating?
Yeah, we gotta rate this.
Sorry. I think it's a 3. I could say 2, but I'll entertain in solidarity with Josh that it's 3. But, like, the Fearless mode is super hype, but when you think about it, like, do you want, especially in our Academy system, to force players who are developing from, you know, champion specialists that came in from solo queue, or players that are trying to develop different play styles, and then to be said, hey, you know your 2-3 champions that you're super comfortable on? Okay, yeah, you don't get to play those anymore. Time to play, like, I don't know, Ivern jungle for the first time. Like, you're not going to get quality gameplay, and it might just be more discouraging and harmful. So,
it depends on what you value in talent development.
Sure.
Because I think that being champion specialist is super overrated, right? We saw, I think it was yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, Golden Guardians slammed Nasus and dunked on Team Liquid, right? We also saw yesterday that Team Liquid, they played Bradley had Malphite into Solo's Gnar, and he didn't look that great. So there is a level of saying that, you know, you want to be able to play a wide variety of champions, but you need to be able to play them to a certain level. And I think this forces players to be good at League of Legends, if not necessarily good at individual champs. And the ability to make plans and adjust on the fly is, to me, a more valuable skill for players at that level than knowing how to play this champion to its utmost. So it depends to me on, like, what it is you're trying to value in getting them to learn. It harms their ability to learn laning, but it really helps their ability to learn how to play the map.
All right. Well, that was our segment of hot takes going on towards this series.
Oh,
you know
Thai
what?
chili. Thai chili, by the way, for that
Thai
one.
chili. All right, thank you, thank you.
That's a 3? Is that spicier than a habanero?
I think it depends on the Thai chili because there is some
no. I think a habanero is spicier than like Thai red chilies or Thai green chilies. I was more on the 2 side rather than the 3 side personally.
Okay. I can see Thai chilies being a 2 for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say my hot take, based off of this
Your hot
first
take.
game, is I do not like kale at all, and I do not
Okay.
think that I'm alone in that one after watching Tenacity.
That's a
player
Carolina
in
Reaper.
the-
How dare you, Sierra? I'm just kidding.
All right, Mazel. Okay.
Yeah, that one might be a green bean. I'm gonna be entirely honest.
Yeah, straight up like bell pepper status.
Yeah,
It's not that spicy. Kale like forces a certain playstyle onto the game, and it's a playstyle of doing a lot of nothing for the first half of it, and that's what we saw. And to 100 Thieves' credit, they did that very effectively for the first half of the game. But it's just like very much like, you know, you're even. Oh, you win. Okay. And we're kind of done. That's what we saw from 100 Thieves. They have had a lot of success with that kind of playstyle in the past, and so it will get them dubs.
yeah. Shout out to production.
Wait, I didn't see it. What happened?
A Thai chili is 3 times less spicy than a habanero.
Oh, good to know.
Getting all the
Is that how you spell
facts.
chili?
Nah. We're vibing. It's fine.
It's graphic designers. We don't need to know how to spell.
Exactly. Not. But now
Love you
in
guys.
this next game, is there anything in particular you want to see? Because I know there's kind of a couple polarizing things with this draft. We got to see the Kale. We got to see Azeri's Yumi. Like, what is your kind of like wish list heading into this next draft?
So, my thing is 100 Thieves are, on paper, some of our strongest players overall in terms of their ability to actually play the game. They are incredible team fighters. I want to see them do things that aren't that. I want to see them challenge other teams in the macro. I want to see them go for strong split pushing. I want to see them using the opportunity to invade and get dives off as a squad. And while we see that this 100 Thieves style of play will get them wins against a lot of developmental teams that we see in Academy, that's not necessarily going to be super impressive to somebody on the scouting roster. It's like, yeah, they fought they fought pretty well. They got to 30 minutes, but they didn't really ever get tested. This is them moving. I want to see them play more like Team Liquid. I want to see them challenge other teams and have their own plans, and it's okay if it goes wrong.
Okay. Well, 100 Thieves, if you're listening, this is what we want to see in this game too. Just a little bit more, something
More
to
spice.
remember. You are get
At least
that
a Thai
spice
chili.
going on. No, let's get the habanero peppers out. It's time for the champion select now. Hopefully, we get to see something good.
Bye, Sierra.
Bye, Sierra. I'm down for Thai chilies. You want to get Thai food
Yeah, at
after
least a Thai
this?
chili. I'd be super down.
Hell yeah. You know, that was something in Singapore. They had great supply of Thai food, and
that makes sense.
Yeah, dude, like if you ever want to like get the benefit of having multiple cuisines of Asian food, but not having to go to every single country, just go to Singapore because it's kind of like the melting pot of the East. Super dope.
I was a little jealous when I learned that you were going there, right? You have such easy access to all kinds of different cultures right around you. But we'll get back into that. We can talk about that over Thai food later on, because we have TSM versus 100 Thieves going into Game 2. And TSM never really tested 100 Thieves in that game, and that is something that we need to see shift up a little bit. We know TSM have the hands to go for some of these fights, but they didn't necessarily have the game plan behind it, and 100 Thieves love playing those kinds of games. They're going to win it almost every single time.
And, you know, calling back to what Sierra was asking, what we would like to see in change for Game 2, we already talked about for 100 Thieves. Limit test yourselves a bit, push outside of your comfort zone of your playstyle. For TSM, I want this team of veterans to trust and take over and really give him tools, give him a lot of resources. On this Swain, Anda didn't necessarily play around him because it was just assuming, okay, well, we're gonna just kind of try to out-farm Will and just control the map. I would love to see some...
That's better!
Yeah! Strong ways to give takeover kills.
That would be even better!
Whoa! If you... I wonder if 100 Thieves are watching the stream. They're just like... Wait a minute. That's... Okay. Milan is just having fun, as usual. But yeah, just give takeover a super strong carry champion, and then let's see how far he can pop off.
So, right now, as we do see going towards a different champion that he's seen a fair amount of, right? He will go for the Senna or the Lucian, but both of those have been banned out. The Kalista, he doesn't necessarily want to pick that up right away, and going towards his most popular champion so far is Zeri. And also, Jimian going back to the Corki, which he has rapidly become his most common champion played so far during the summer. He's already at 5 games before the day started. That was his 6th. This will be his 7th game of Corki this summer.
Tell me, Josh, are you a fan of the Corki for Jimian?
I was way happier with it today than I was yesterday and the day before.
Okay.
So it's a situation of watching where I feel like when I watch 100 Thieves, right, I hold them to such high standards, and it's something where
Reasonable.
I'm still excited to see them win, right, and I'm still want to see them have more success, but you know, again, this is them already opting into a very heavy scaling composition, right? They will likely win unless TSM can find a lot of early game plays, but we know they can do that, right? A lot of teams can do that if you pick these very strong scaling characters. And with 100 Thieves, we saw, I think the most telling thing is when we saw their best of 5 up against Team Liquid in the Proving Grounds Championship Spring, the games where Team Liquid won, 20 minutes, nearly perfect game. The games where 100 Thieves won, 35 minutes plus, absolutely bloody mayhem. And I think that's the thing that I want to see 100 Thieves kind of push back on, right? If they can start figuring out how to play a lot of this macro, if Busio can really direct his team to control their waves in the right ways, 100 Thieves can go from being a team that we already know is pretty good to not even close with the rest of the league.
So, 100 Thieves and TSM both things to expand upon and just show us different flavors, ways that this squad identity can evolve. We're heading into the second round of bans. Already 100 Thieves have gone for, once again, long range in both their I was about to say Dragon Lane, the Wild Rift. Wild Rifterism still keeping up with me, but long range games for the bottom lane and the mid lane. You got poke and ways to keep TSM at long range distance, which is why TSM are thankful that they have invested into some equally long range engage.
Yes, this is a huge issue that TSM were looking at in their previous game. They had no way to get fights started into the long range that 100 Thieves were actually able to bring. And so the Rakan coming through, paired with the Xayah, not something that we have been seeing nearly as often, gives them tools to be very aggressive in the lane. They can look to really make BMFX and Busio uncomfortable, and that's what we want to see. Tactical and challenge them early on in the game. There's a lot of gaps in with the 100 Thieves composition that will probably, let's be real, will probably not get plugged, because 100 Thieves have not been punished with this kind of composition by most other teams.
It is so difficult to lock down slippery opponents like a Zeri, right? And it's just, what is this, Zac?
Please. Will's been playing Zac, dude. He has 3 games of it already. Yeah, he's the only person in the academy I know.
Being played? God. Dude, Zac was one of my favorite champions growing up in League when I first started playing jungle. Yeah.
You want to know a very dumb story about young Josh?
What's that?
Yoshi?
Yeah.
I borrowed a Flubber VHS from my cousins, and I put it in, and this was before I understood they had to rewind them. I put it in, and at the very end of it, you get a scene of Flubber just dancing for about 5 seconds as you get into the credits. And then it ended, and I thought that was the whole movie.
Just completely warped your perception. Well,
I thought it was like a 5-second movie, and I'm like, what is this? Why does everybody like this movie? Nothing happened.
Just a dancing piece of jello, man. For 100 Thieves, though, I was excited to see potentially Bel'Veth locked in. Unfortunately, they are going to go for just something a little bit more standard, the Poppy for Will. This allows Tenacity to get something a little bit more carry-oriented. He is not locked into frontline duty.
Kill.
Again?
Maybe. Fiora, Gangplank, Kale, Ornn, these have been his most played, and also some Aatrox in there. And the Aatrox, if he picks the Aatrox, I would love it in theory in terms of what he actually brings to the lane, but who's he hitting? Right, it's not very easy for the Aatrox to actually play into the rest of the team, so I would not be surprised if we just saw him go right on back to the Kale. 100 Thieves committed to this very late scaling, and even the Sylas, it's a little bit better, right? It's not as committed to the same kind of scaling, but it is Tenacity opting into, I want to play the fun matchup, right? I want to look for ways where I can outplay, I can pick the skill matchup, and I will do better than my lane opponent. So that is the one place that I'm actually looking where I feel like 100 Thieves might make some things happen early on in the game. But for TSM, it's bottom lane. Tactical and Mia, they have picked Xayah Rakan. I hope they go for some kind of earlier game. The lethality builds are nowhere near as popular or as powerful, and this could be where they test BMFX and Busio.
I was about to say, I think this is the game where BMFX gets to show some of his true colors, where he can really show what the carry potential that 100 Thieves Academy are trying to invest and develop, right?
Yeah.
And if you're given the range and you're given the safety, then it's all up to BMFX to choose his moments to shine.
Yeah, I definitely think 100 Thieves, this is a composition that very much plays into the things that they've already found success with. I think we're, once again, likely in store for a relatively long game. And looking at how we've been seeing Tactical and Mia play thus far, I want them to challenge BMFX and Busio, but when they went up against Yan and Ayla, it wasn't particularly successful. When we saw them in their last game, they had a small lead, or no, they had a small deficit, but for a roster that we know has just come down from the LCS, that Mia was a very exciting support prospect coming in, we're asking for more.
All right, TSM, it's time to show us if you can deliver more. Same thing for you, 100 Thieves Academy. Whether this is a 2-0 or a 1-1, we are going down to the wire for Game 2 and seeing what both of these teams can show.
And as we load back in, we do see not a whole lot super exciting. The one thing that does tell me a little bit about how they're going to be playing, though, is Tactical has opted to pick up the lethal tempo, implying a crit style build rather than lethality, which means that they are more likely to go for some of these fights early on instead of just trying to poke people out.
And one of the other things I want to track is for Tenacity, we called upon him to give us a little bit of spiciness, a little bit of flair. It is all about which ultimates he wants to take. There's things like the Ornhorn, the Cyclone, and the Emperor's Divide. It's all going to be about choices and how well he executes.
So as we take a look at this relatively early start, without a whole lot necessarily happening, we will be seeing the jungler start on opposite sides of the Rift, and he's been doing a decent job at trying to adjust to this more control style of gameplay, right? He's been looking for these opportunities to prevent some plays from happening, but he's not necessarily been incredibly proactive, and there are very obvious games to go for, he'll go for them. But for now, it's mostly just been Tenacity coming in for harassment like this, trying to make sure that Anda's early path is not gone unharassed.
Looks like Silas, or Tenacity Silas, was poking into the jungle of Anda, getting some information down and saying, yo, Will, Monkey Man is starting off on the blue buff side, so, you know, now you can determine where you want to path, my dude. And Will can either full clear this bottom side jungle and then make some moves towards the bottom half of the map, or if he just wants to trade full clears and, you know, keep things a little more on the safe side.
I hope it's not the safe side, Mark. I really don't. 100 Thieves, I love watching them team fight, but there's such long gaps in between these team fights that it becomes, you know, less interesting in the between parts. So as we start looking at how this game actually shakes out, I want to see BMFX, Busio be more aggressive. When they were taking their games up against Kaori and Smoothie, and Busio was going for these abyssal dives on the Tom Tench, and they were catching out, you know, one of our better bottom lanes, I was so excited. It was a huge win for some of our rookie players.
Yeah, it's always nice to see the native talent being able to shine on the Academy stage here. Transitioning over to this top lane matchup. It's been just a back and forth. I don't imagine that we're going to see any solo kills anytime soon, but if Will is added to the equation, well, it could be a flash burn. And I think Solo knows. He spots him and says, okay, yeah, what are you going to do, man? You're going to heroic slam me. Solo's got the charge that he can get out alive.
Searing Charge keeps him safe. Steadfast Presence not there in time in order to prevent him from running away. And it does mean, like, this is a little bit different from Will, right? Typically, we've been seeing him go for these longer clears, not necessarily trying to make plays happen before he clears out the entirety of the jungle. But it does mean that Anda, you know, somebody we know has been a control jungle, gets to have a little bit more say in where it is that Will can actually clear. And even now, Anda trying to poke around to see if he can find Jimmy.
BMFX just sliding his way out of that one. I'm calling back to asking Anda to step up a little bit more. Whoa, that's a lot of damage, Jimmy. Be careful on the back end of that spear. Anda, while we talk about him being a control jungler, we know that he's no stranger to playing something super aggressive. When we go back to his days of No Org when he was playing with Viper and them, he played Nidalee, he played Elise, he played super aggressive junglers that played off of the priority of his laners, and things that wanted to snowball insanely ahead. And we know that during when Anda was first coming up in the LCS scene, when he was a sub for Immortals back in 2017, he was the first player from NA to get Challenger on the Korean ladder when they went to Worlds. He was spamming Ezreal and Nidalee jungle, and he was the first one to do it. So we know Anda has the potential.
Yeah, and we know you love your Ezreal jungle. Oh, he was trying. Trying to make things happen, but unfortunately not able to find something. By Busio.
Ignite comes out. Busio forced to use. Woohoo! Mia and Tactical find first blood.
Let's go.
Asking for some action, and TSM deliver. BMFX still trying to go for it. The flash from Tactical repositioning, but in the end, Tactical still comes out on top. But here comes Will trying to rectify the odds here. Should get enough. Tactical outplays them all.
3 kills going over for Tactical. This is the start that TSM were looking for. This is what Tactical coming down was trying to prove. I don't want to give up my spot to Instinct. I still deserve to be in the LCS. Finds 3 straight kills on everybody on 100 Thieves, and now we got a game. TSM have somewhere that they have power in that they can play around, and Anda continuing it in the mid lane.
There it
TSM,
is.
this is your game.
Well, it's short-lived, Josh. Will says, you can't get out of that one alive. But look at this. TSM turning up the heat and the aggression, forcing plays and looking for errors from 100 Thieves where they least expect it.
And I just love the fact that Tactical has been willing to stand and deliver, but more than that, watching them use their cooldowns to the maximum, right? Tactical goes through here, and he tries to get the flash route, but after that, watch how Mia waits with his battle dance in order to keep Tactical alive. The steadfast presence is here. He knows he can't do anything, but as soon as it's down, he goes in with the shield. He gets the second shield, and Tactical stays alive. That patience coming out from Mia saves the play. It keeps Tactical very strong. They find the 3 kills, and I asked for fire. I asked for fighting coming through from TSM.
You're getting them both,
it's
Josh.
Paying off.
You get the double FF, but not the surrender kind.
Ooh.
I'm glad you like
Not
that.
yet. I do like fighting. It is there's a certain amount of like macro play that we can see coming out. They put
it's the 2 goats double horse, but Tenacity gets it first. Tenacity obliterates Solo.
That is so funny. They both ult at the same time, but Tenacity ever so slightly faster. He's just Ornn with a better amount of damage coming through. He takes him down, and we said Tenacity, he loves playing in these skill matchups. He finds another win, and while TSM, they're starting the arms race on the bottom side with 3 kills going over to Tactical. Tenacity's not going to let it go unanswered as he finds his own solo kill.
I think both teams heard about our requests, I think is the most polite way of saying it. Play with more heat.
Our plea.
Yeah. Our plea and our begging. Come on, guys. Turn up the aggression. Let's see some more plays in the early game, and boom! We're getting it. So, we're being treated in. TSM leading with a slight gold lead, and now Mia is looking to lead the charge even further. Good polymorph from Busio gives him time before he is forced to flash away. It is a summoner spell for summoner spell in return, but now TSM have the priority to continue pushing down on this turret.
And Takeover also doing a good job bullying Jimmy in the mid lane right on the Swain. He wasn't really able to find an advantage, but Azir, we saw him find solo kills in this matchup. I think it was even as recently as yesterday.
And Takeover did give us that huge pop-off play in their series against FlyQuest a couple days ago. Takeover, while not going to be making big plays anytime soon while he is scaling up, once we get to the team fighting stage, can look for those moments, and Jamian might be forced to flash, but it's a good Valkyrie dodging out on the grand entrance.
Yeah, great reaction time coming out from Jimmy and keeps him safe. We've always known he's been a good defensive player. He's really well suited to playing in the side lanes because he doesn't die very often in those situations. But TSM, They're finding an advantage in the bottom lane. They're trying to transition it to the mid lane, and they still pick up a Rip Curl. So they find themselves a little over 1,000 gold at this point, and this is something where we always look at for 100 Thieves. The question is always going to be, are they allowed to get to the late game? In their losses, they actually lose pretty quickly, but in their wins, they tend to do it very long. It's why they have an average game duration of 34 minutes.
And based on the fact that no one has been able to take the dragon, I suspect we're going to be in that pocket of game time as well, Josh. I'm not going to lie.
I'm down.
I thought you were just complaining that we didn't want the games to go that long.
Wait, did I thought you said we were going to get a fight. I must have misheard you. I was
bad.
hoping we'd get a little bit more fighting coming through in Tenacity.
Well, they might fight over the first dragon. That could be the result.
That could be the play. Solo doesn't have teleport, neither does Tenacity, so the top winners can't arrive at Takeover. Definitely has...
That looks so funny. He's like, he's sitting in place while the Cyclone is just violently spinning around him. It's like a disjointed Beyblade.
Yeah. It is. Tenacity, though, clears out the wave, and TSM will be picking up this first dragon. Now, we're not seeing a response coming out from 100 Thieves, and it makes sense, right? When you have this very powerful opposing bottom lane, when you already have Tactical with most of the Gale Force completed, you don't necessarily want to fight him. But as they start moving towards the rest of the map, we will look for TSM to continue building up their lead, and I think it has to be continued through the bottom lane.
Wow, Tenacity just dancing on the edge of the turret range, too. I thought he was about to take 1 or 2 shots afterwards, but Tenacity knows his limits. He's definitely learned them during his time on 100 Thieves Next back in 2020.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Takeover might be one of the best players in the Azir side of the Corki matchup that we have in Academy, right? He just is so good at pressuring all these other players and trying to put them in uncomfortable positions. He has a small CS lead. It hasn't ballooned just quite yet, but he is threatening. He's like, you think you could just get these minions without me fighting you?
It's one of the things that we've seen some of the very best mid laners around the world be able to do, even on champions that we always relate to being champions that don't come online until very late in the game, but when they know how to pressure you on every single minion, then that pressure just builds up over time, and then suddenly you want to leave lane earlier because you're down to only 10% HP. But Solo, this could be bad. Great use of the Bellows to dodge out on the knockup here, but Solo doesn't get to use his own knockup because Will knocks him out of it, but it's still not enough damage because it is a take Poppy, and Solo walks out alive.
That was weird coming through from Will. It doesn't feel right. I'd have to look at it again, but it's definitely a spot where we are seeing TSM. I asked them to play through their bottom lane, continue getting Tactical further ahead, showcase why he was brought up so quickly from the amateur and academy space to the LCS. As they get another crash coming through, they also take away a bunch of Will's jungle.
Yeah, straight out of Supernova back.
Why do you have package Jim, man? Yeah, we talked about this yesterday, man.
Oh, you sound more disappointed than my dad, dude. That brought back some trauma.
Rapito. We've talked about this one before.
Mijito, ¿qué estás haciendo?
Yes. Clean up your room. I don't know. It sounds kind of like Hacienda. I don't. I don't know. Was I close?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not too far off, because Hacienda is, like, Cuarto is room. Hacienda is, like, a different... Oh, hold up. And Solo still has Flash, and he can walk away from this one. Yeah, every time he engages in a 1v2, it always looks dicey, and then cooldowns run out for both Tenacity and Will. Whoa! Yeah, Jimmy felt the breeze on that one. He, hold up now. Okay, now it is Tenacity forced to be under fire here. Mia and Tactical getting the hijack use out of Tenacity early on. He still got 50% HP to work with, but 4 members from TSM all corralling slowly on the top side of the map. Once Takeover pushes in this wave, he can choose to join them or more than likely get a reset in.
Yeah, and the way that they're playing around Tactical has been textbook thus far, right? You get him this early lead, or they build one for themselves, and then they play. But now Tenacity.
Tenacity has his Featherstorm. Watch for how he uses the cooldown here. Oh, no. That's tough.
All right, TSM, you can't pump the brakes just quite yet. I know it looks bad. I know you're in a spot where you were so strong, but Takeover is doing a good job in the mid lane. Solo is still farming up. Continue looking for these plays, but you just got to make sure you do the last little bit. You got to make sure you keep Tactical safe. I'm very confident they thought that Tenacity had backed away.
Great patience from 100 Thieves. And I will say, you know, I think that's something that probably is a different flavor from what we would see. You know, if 100 Thieves would have normally just wanted to be efficient with their map timers, but now it is BMFX that has probably overstayed. Something about bot laners overstaying their welcome. Man, this champion, it's cool, I guess.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Very strong champion. I mean, I have to give props to BMFX, right? He didn't allow his dash to get interrupted by Inra, right? And holding abilities is one of the things I've praised Ayla for, one of the strongest players I think we have in Academy. And seeing players like BMFX pick up on that has been great. But we're getting a fight. Let's go!
Teleport coming in. Who is it? It's Tenacity. He's got the Call of the Forge God. The goat coming from afar. Tactical dodges it with a perfectly timed Featherstorm. Can't say the same about Mia. Mia is the one that has been left 200 Thieves to pick off alive. 100 Thieves being able to section off this Rift Herald, claim it for their own, while TSM lose 2.
All right, and 100 Thieves, I mean, it is the standard game plan, right? You show up to the neutral objectives, you show up to every Herald, show up to every Dragon, out teamfight them. TSM not expecting to play as they go for a counter one.
Aw, Tactical and Takeover coming in for reinforcements. Boostio's been cut off. Wild Growth into Flash. Dodges out on the knockup follow-up from Solo. Tenacity's got to use the minions to abduct his way out of danger.
He picks up all the minions. Yep, I'm not in any danger. Great stuff from 100 Thieves to try and escape that. But TSM, right, they're looking for these plays, and I was so excited with what they were able to do with Tactical at the beginning. Tactical and Mia had their best laning phase in any game that we've seen from them so far in Academy, but it's crumbled so quickly. Now Silas, he got the first solo kill. Tenacity already showcasing why we pegged him as potentially our strongest top laner.
3-0-1 on the Silas so far. Everfrost and then rushing a Void Staff just so that any magic resist that comes in from TSM members, it does not feel as bad for Tenacity. I was looking through the boots as I was going through that thought process, and I realized that Solo actually has cooldown boots.
Yeah, it's not that uncommon on the Silas, right? Just to make sure that you just to make sure that you get as much uptime as you can on your ultimate when you need to look for these engages.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't love it, I don't hate it, but it's definitely a decision where you're making where you're less invested in the side lanes and more just having more opportunities to go for these team fights. And that's what I want to see TSM try and make happen. You also get the lower cooldown on your summoner spells, and it pairs very well with your Unsealed Spellbook. But TSM, they've been looking for these plays, and this might be another time that they find one.
Jimmy still has Flash if he needs it, and not popping the cycle. Whoa, that's a lot of damage, and Anda realizes he needs to leave, but Great Ember's Divide, it's unlucky though, because it's still not enough. But Will is now deep in enemy territory. Solo has cut him off with the Call of the Forge God teleport play. Now looking for more. Meanwhile, we got a 2v2 in the mid lane between both of the bottom lanes. Boostio and BMFX pushing Mia and Tactical away. They haven't popped their ultimates. It's just a Wild Growth in exchange for nothing from the side of TSM.
And we're kind of going back to that part of the game where I'm like, what is going on? Do these fights mean a whole lot? This one actually does, right? A lot of 100 Thieves fights, they trade vaguely even, but this time the kill goes over to TSM. It's traded back, but they get the second tier turret, so both Solo and Takeover effectively getting an extra kill's worth of gold. But magical, no, you're not magical, I'm sorry. Rafa.
Wow!
I've been so good at not doing that. But this play was a little bit odd to me, right? I was waiting for Anda to actually throw down the Cyclone, and he just waited so long that by the time, you know, he was dead, he still had the cooldown available. And the big thing that comes through here is that Jimmy, he ran out of rockets. He's like, I will do my best to help you, Will. But my best is unfortunately not enough, and the game has devolved back into a very even situation. You know who that favors, Mark?
I'm sorry, who?
100 Thieves. Game's even.
Oh,
18 minutes in.
I thought you wanted to talk to Magical.
Not this time.
All right, well, Tenacity has got the quickness, charms up multiple members of TSM, but no further action seems to come through from 100 Thieves. And just poking his face in, though, trying to goad 100 Thieves into burning more. It looks like the timer on the Rift Herald was running out for Will, so...
I think he thought he had Red Trinket.
Oh.
That's what that looked like to me.
Well, that also fits. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa! Oh, double knock-up city! Will's in the bounce house, and he's sent back to the fountain. Numbers advantage now for TSM. They take out the Rift Herald as well, preventing that crash from coming in. Keeps their turret alive. TSM, good looks so far.
Looking for more, though. Still a right tactical. Finds his 4th kill. But you kind of see what I mean, where I was talking about how 100 Thieves was playing before, right? A lot of these skirmishes kind of just go vaguely even, right? Like, neither team has been able to build a real advantage so far in a lot of these fights. Well, we saw the bottom lane, it went in favor of TSM. That one and a couple of the fights that we've seen have also just gone to 100 Thieves. And at the end of it, you know, this is kind of what we're looking at from 100 Thieves, right? We're not necessarily seeing the same kind of wave setup that some of our teams like CLG and Team Liquid will be able to make happen. Cloud9 as well. And so 100 Thieves, a lot of their games become these late game team fights. Because I'm not sure that Bucio has necessarily got to the level of his development where he's just like, yes, we are doing this, push out your wave right now, Tenacity, we're going to have you come through, pick up this blue buff, and we're going to have Will there all at the same time. And I feel like that again, that's the next step that I want to see from 100 Thieves.
Yeah, and you can tell that the coordination from 100 Thieves has been a little 50-50 so far. There's been a couple of really good set plays in the pickoffs on the tactical a few minutes ago. And then there's these moments where, as you said, it's just trading back and forth. Okay, Jimmy has his package.
Yes!
12 seconds before instead of 2:55.
9, much better. Coming through, and we have this dragon to fight for. Tenacity has a flank. This is classic 100 Thieves.
Double pinch. Takeover, maintaining the left flank, making sure that Chimian doesn't get a pass in for free, but he's bypassing the way with huge rocket poke. Tactical already sub 50% HP. Here we go. Call the Forge God from solo, splits up the team from 100 Thieves, but the rest of TSM can't get through because Chimian is threatening that package flank. And yes, they dodged out on it, but TSM cannot facilitate the rest of their team and their front line from getting picked off. 100 Thieves, great stuff from Jimian and cutting off the rest of the TSM backline.
And Jimian played those rockets so well, right? Sometimes not throwing a punch is a bigger threat than throwing it out. Jimian holding the package, daring Tactical to try and step up. He did so much damage with those rockets, preventing Takeover from playing, preventing Tactical from playing. And as you watch Jimian just prevent both of the primary damage carries from coming in from TSM, there's no hope for Enda and Solo. They do not do enough damage. Tenacity locks them down, and the entire time Jimian's just like, you can't come in. You cannot play. I have the package. And by the time he has to use it, the fight has already been decided.
That is one of those fights where you can get caught up in the chaos that is happening in the river pocket, but the true story is just thanks to Jimian cutting off the damage source. So just, and I think those plays don't get celebrated often enough because it's not the flashiest thing, but it is some of the most crucial. And when at higher levels of play, players respect huge game-changing moments like a package coming through, it's also the pressure that gets felt, you know?
And you know me, Mark, when you and I are playing together, and I do something like that, if I'm ever Jimian, I let you freaking know. Did you see how cool I was?
Yeah.
Did you see that 3 of their players didn't get to do anything? Yeah. Good job killing those guys.
Oh, God. That Keeper's Verdict came out of nowhere. I think that's the first time I've seen a full channeled Keeper's Verdict be used this game. Most of the time, it's just been a point-and-click knockup, but just keeping this turret safe for now.
Yeah. I mean, Poppy's knockup does, I think it has a longer duration and also throws people back further than it used to. It's a relatively recent change. I don't remember if that happened while you were in Singapore. But
what?
One of the... What?
God, there's just more stuff that I missed out on, man.
True. I mean, can you wait for Neela?
Oh god, yeah. Oh, let's not talk about the new champ. we'll figure that up.
We'll have to deal with it later. Maybe by Proving Grounds.
Yeah, maybe on Proving Grounds.
Oh, Wubai.
Yeah, well, Takeover already knows that, hey, there's a ton of people from 100 Thieves coming my way, so don't even want to take chances with it. Tactical, keeping BMFX on the run because he's got Solo frontlining for him. They're just brute forcing their way through the turret. Good stuff. I like it. I mean, that's one way to just force the advantage for yourself. You got to do something as TSM as the game is starting to slip over back into 100 Thieves' favor because the scaling on this Corki and Zeri is starting to become a nightmare.
True. I mean, we are rapidly approaching the part where Jamie is level 16 and the rest of the game is kind of also just happening around the level 16 point. But one thing I do kind of want to talk about is I feel a little bit bad for Enda because, you know, your average viewer watching this will take a look and like, oh, he's 1-4. But a lot of that really isn't his fault, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know you and I have watched it, but for everybody else, I think it was an LCO video of Chaz alongside Pabu, who's become very popular on Twitter. And Chaz was talking to their support saying, hey man, can you smile for me? Look, I want you to know, you know, we had a rough game, and it's not your fault. Yes, you went 0-5, but that's what happens when you are the support, or you are this frontline bruiser.
You're the primary engage.
You're the engage, and we need you to continue sending it. We need you to continue having games where you just look like crap, because it is our only way to play, right? And that's where we look at Enda, who has played with his 100 Thieves, not this 100 Thieves roster, but has played for 100 Thieves before. He wants these opportunities to find his revenge, and he needs to keep trying.
Maybe it can start right now. Keeper's Verdict punts away one. Anda cannot get in range of Will, though, because he's super fast thanks to the help of Busio. Another engage attempt by TSM, unfortunately stuffed by 100 Thieves. But you're exactly right. When your responsibility in a game is primary engage, and you happen to be the one coming up short in team fights, you're going to look like the worst player just off stats, because you're going to be the ones dying.
He's not. He's playing, right, like, it's not his fault that Takeover and Tactical got bullied out by Jimian, right?
Yep.
It's not his fault that Tenacity's gotten a couple of solo kills and suddenly there's not another reliable frontline tank that can stand up in the front line. And so I feel like for Anda, he's kind of been one of my bright spots for TSM so far. When we were watching them play against Team Liquid, he was the only person who was able to help them find kills. And this late into the game, you know, you've played enough Wukong.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, if you don't get snowballed on the Wukong, you don't feel like the 1v9 force, right? Where you're just sustaining for days. You're just a
good
CC
package
bot.
again. Let's go, Jimian.
And look at this. Now, TSM, they're the first ones to the pit this time around, and this helps Tactical so that he doesn't get poked off and he doesn't get separated from the rest of his team. They want to bait 100 Thieves into them so that Tactical can make full use of his feathers. They're daring 100 Thieves to approach. They burn down the dragon. No contest from the side of 100 Thieves, but now can they get out? TSM are split. A call the Forge God is coming in from Tenacity and Solo answering back, buying time. Jimian, can he get into the backline here? Takeover Mia are able to rejoin with the side of TSM and looking to turn around on 100 Thieves. Jimian needs to join the fight. He needs to find a moment to flank in, coming in with the package. Can he get value off of it? Flashing forward. Whoa! That damage! It's insane! Jimian explodes members of TSM back to the fountain.
Okay,
and now
Takeover?
Takeover is looking for a moment to repay the members of TSM that have fallen but cannot get through the heroic slam. 100 Thieves wipe out TSM.
And Tactical has nowhere to run. I don't even think he gets Busio as the polymorph comes through. Jimian will hunt him down, pepper him with rockets, and 100 Thieves, they get the team fight win. And while they lose the dragon, that does mean the game continues going on. But Jimian, once again, coming up big on this Corki. He has the package at the right time. He waits. He prevents Takeover from being part of this fight. Takeover can't enter for the first half of it. There's not enough DPS coming out from Tactical alone. And finally, Jimian sees his moment. He looks for a way to split up Tactical and the rest of the team. He goes. I thought for sure he was dead here, but no. He just has the damage. He takes down 3 people instantly and even has an opportunity to back away and teleport back.
I'm definitely in the same camp as you, Josh. I thought Jimian had just packaged into his death. It would have been cool for the rest of 100 Thieves, but the fact that he gets so much burst off and sustains through it all?
Okay.
Oh, my God. Oh. Well, you know, you had your moment, Jimian. It's okay. And your moment is distracting TSM.
Yeah, well, you know what I said. 100 Thieves get more objectives when they have players dead than when they have them alive. 100 Thieves.
Okay, and sees the Baron at 5,000 HP, and 100 Thieves realize it is way too dangerous to contest this with only 5 versus 4. Good call. The Forge God stops Will in his tracks and stalls them for a little bit. And now TSM, they have a chance to see if they want to tangle with the Baron.
I feel like TSM ought to, right? Jamian's still dead, has no teleport, can't join. But they're not willing to pull the trigger. I wonder what's stopping them.
Yeah, Jimian won't have.
What are they afraid of?
Yeah, like Jimian doesn't have teleport. He won't have package either for a couple more minutes because it's in time with the dragon spawn as well. So I guess TSM just want to play it safe, push out their waves first, get vision control, and then wait for another set play.
But how do you deal as TSM? How do you deal with Zeri?
Yeah, I don't know, Josh.
Right? Okay. Now we did see TSM. Some of the most exciting moments we've seen from TSM have been takeover on this Azir, right? He will find massive plays as a developmental piece. He is still a player that can make these big plays happen. He will go for it. He will wait for his moment the entire game. He will sit at odd angles sometimes, just looking for the other team to make a mistake. I feel like that is what TSM are doing. They're putting a lot of pressure now on their developmental rookie. They want him to be the big carry. It was tactical at the beginning with 3 kills, but he's just not able to hit. He's outranged now.
Dealing with both the range of Zeri and Jimian's rockets at this point in the game, it's so difficult. TSM did the right thing in setting up for the Dragon last time. They were the first ones to the pit, and they forced 100 Thieves to come into them, and 100 Thieves had to dance around it for so long. The fact that Jimian salvaged it with the package is honestly a little unlucky for TSM, but 100 Thieves, credits to them for being able to still pull it through. There's another minute left before the next Dragon comes up, and will TSM try to actually start this Baron?
There's no way. They can't go for it, but Mia has a flank.
Oh, but it gets sought out, and Tenacity dodges out on the initial knockup, stalling out the time of the quickness. Tenacity doesn't even get charmed up, and I don't know if that ultimate is going to come up right in time for Dragon in the next 40 seconds.
Now, I'm not sure exactly when Corki's package is up. It might actually be after the Dragon spawns, right? And we're just waiting to see. He still has the teleport. He's still pushing up in the top lane. Tenacity pushing towards the bottom lane. But we have to look at Jimian. He's figured out the packaging timer for this game. He's on that cycle consistently. And TSM, they were timid before when they were trying to start up the Baron. They started now, but Jimian has package and teleport. If you wanted to make this play, it needed to be 4 minutes ago.
Jimian doubling back for the package right now.
It's not up just quite yet. He has teleport. Then they get it. TSM.
Wow.
There's no challenge from 100 Thieves.
Holy. I just took my eyes off of it for 1 second too long, and TSM able to burn it down. And the fact that it's not soul point for 100 Thieves yet, it's a good trade for them in the long run. There's still another 5 minutes before they have to contest 400 Thieves' respective soul point. But this Baron buff on their side, they can force potentially the package, or Jimian actually never got the package.
FlyQuest did this. I don't remember if it was against TSM or against 100 Thieves, but we've seen this sneak play work against the Thieves multiple times at this point. And now Jimian's package goes another 4 minutes without being used. And 100 Thieves, they don't have great wave clear where Corki isn't.
Oh, but a flank from Tenacity might have caught out Mia. Needs to get in range the battle dance. Keeper's Verdict gets him up. It's a flash over the wall. Tenacity clips him though with his own quickness that he stole. Forced to go golden with the stasis and the Zhonya's hourglass. In goes Will, trying to buy time for the rest of BMFX to get offline. He has to kite away from Boost or the rest of TSM. And Jimian is forced on the run. Holy cow! Wait, Josh! I think TSM have found the window. They've taken out 3 members. They could just push to end the game.
This never happens. 100 Thieves don't lose these team fights, but TSM finally challenged them. The chaos was too much for even 100 Thieves and TSM. They had some semblance of their battle lines. Tactical was able to hit. Jimmy wasn't able to participate. He was too far away in the package, sitting there forlornly.
Tenacity and Busio have to pull off a miracle play, but Tenacity gets melted, and Busio is cut off from the minion wave. TSM, one play is all that it takes to turn things around at the 33-minute mark, and TSM equalize against 100 Thieves.
TSM turning things around. They find the last fight at the very end of it.
Wow.
And it was absolutely... I would have to look back at it because I thought for sure people were going to start disengaging, but Beam Effects goes too far, Tenacity goes too far, and suddenly there's no way they hadn't set up their battle lines, and this is TSM capitalizing on the mistakes of 100 Thieves.
Yeah, it just seems like a moment where Jimmy wasn't in position yet to really layer down the damage with BMFX and the rest of 100 Thieves, and it just became a multiple battles or mini skirmishes, and when it's like that and the coordination is off for 100 Thieves, and
You're
TSM,
flipping a coin.
Yeah, you're flipping it, and with the Baron buff on your side, you have the means to end the game off of that mistake. So props to TSM seizing their moment when they needed to, and that allows them to take a dub and equalize the series. And of course, for us, we're going to be returning from a short break. When we come back, it is going to be Sierra on the interview desk with TSM.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Verizon post-game interview. I'm sitting here with Solo. I have to say, that ending of that second game, I did not expect things to go that way. I didn't expect TSM to get that second win. Take me through the ending of that game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty close game, and then we realized they kind of were not respecting our Baron vision at all. So we were like, okay, let's just get the free Baron, and then when we were pushing for mid, they sent it on us, and we knew like, okay, this is our time to fight. It was a little chaotic. Like all the fights that game were really chaotic, but yeah, I mean, we just pulled it out. I think that it was just like a really close like adverse game, and we were able to just win the kind of the coin flip fights, and so that kind of was the difference maker. But definitely like really weird ending to like a pretty nutty game.
It's definitely a way to be ending off the week. And now that the first week that you've been on for TSM for Academy has happened, how are you feeling about the team so far?
I'm feeling pretty good. I think that I've played competitive for a while, and obviously the team is like a bunch of new players. So, I mean, there's been some growing pains. And I think like we're all making adjustments, trying to like fit each other's play styles a little bit. And like kind of, working on team comms as well. But, I mean, stage games are like the best times to get growth. And I think that there's a lot of stuff this weekend or this week that we can like take from and learn a lot from. But I'm overall, like, I mean, 3-3, like I'm pretty happy with the way things went and how we performed in most of those games.
Yeah, your history is insane, like going through your page and seeing all the teams and stuff, and even coaching. Though when you did coach, you mentioned that you would rather be playing. How are you feeling being able to play again, and how do you feel like your experience really helps lend to this team voice?
Yeah, I mean, I love playing. I mean, playing is like the most fun thing, and I feel like I still compete well. So I've always wanted to keep going until I'm like really not about it or washed or anything. So, and I mean, I think that when you just have like a ton of experience, it's really easy to kind of like lead and just also like be really consistent in a lot of like macro sense. Like you kind of just know where you need to be, and you don't need to be reminded, and you don't need people to like worry about what you're going to be doing because you're usually doing the right thing. So, I mean, that's kind of what having someone like me brings to a team, is just that consistency and like reliability that, I'm not going to be someone you have to really like keep on getting on for fundamentals. I'm usually pretty surefire about those things.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then, now that it's halfway through the split as well, and TSMA has gone through huge roster changes and not doing the greatest in the standings before now, what is really like the team goals going forward?
I think for us, we're just like looking to improve week to week. I know, most of the guys that joined, know about like, the record's not great. So we're not really worrying too much about like, oh, we need to win this amount of games to like make their playoffs or anything like that. It's just kind of like, let's just play and improve. we've got like young guys on the team that need the time and the experience. So that's kind of what the focus has been.
Okay. Yeah, one of them is Takeover, who, I mean, we were talking a lot about on the desk beforehand. Do you have any thoughts on him now that you two get to play together?
Yeah, I think Takeover's great. Like he's a really talented guy. I think it's just like a lot of the younger players that I've run into and experienced. It's just they really just need reps and they need experience to kind of get understanding like how the game is played at like a professional level, and it just takes time. But I think that he's a bright guy, and he's impressed me a lot, like the way he plays and his matchup knowledge and his laning and his team fighting. Like he's had some really clutch team fights I've seen. So I think those are like the X factors that you want in a younger player, and now it's just he's just got to learn the game. Like it takes time, but I think once he gets to that point, like he's got the real strong like things you want to see in a young player with like mechanics and just clutch factor. So I'm really happy for him.
I mean, that's definitely a huge vote from you considering everything. So glad to hear it. So final thing before I let you go. I'm sure you got a chance to catch up with the teams just a little bit, but I want to know your impressions on the other teams in the league. If there's anyone that stands out, if there's any hot takes that you have.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't watched Academy a ton up until now, and I obviously haven't been scrimming against anybody. But I mean, at least the younger players. I mean, I think Bradley played well yesterday, and I mean, Tenacity played well today. So I think they seem like they're fine players. I don't have a ton of experience to build off of. I think, but I think like individually they seem fine, and I think that's really a good starting point for a lot of young players. It's just make sure that you aren't just like a massive liability on like an individual level. So props to them. And I think as well, like TL, they seem like a really good team. They seem a little bit like a bit of an ego team. I mean, the way they play is like a little ego, or they really like just check if you have, if you're really going to check them on anything. But so I think that's something that can be flawed about them. But otherwise, like, I mean, they're running people. So props to them.
All right. All right. I appreciate your thoughts, and I appreciate as well you taking the time to sit down with me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.